let's talk real quickly here, just a little introduction. So we're now moving on and talking about evolution and natural selection. So let's just start with the definition. So what is that? What does evolution mean? Anybody have an idea that you can give me? What is that? What is evolution? Sure?
The change of something over time.
Yeah, that's exactly the definition we're going to use. That evolution is a change in a species over time. Okay, so the theory that species can change over time. So remember, when we talked about the characteristics of living things, we said living organisms are adapted to their environment. Did that mean that an individual could change over time? That if you bring a polar bear to the desert, it would adapt to life in the desert? No. Okay. An individual of a species is born with certain characteristics and traits, and they have those for their entire lifetime. They can't adapt to a new environment. Okay? Adaptation, natural selection, evolution happens to species, groups of organisms. Okay? So if we think about an example, horses are an example. Have horses always looked exactly the way they do today? Anybody know? No. Horses have been around for millions of years, but millions of years ago, horses were quite small, sort of dog-sized mammals. Okay? And they had toes instead of hooves. Okay? So over the past several million years, horses as a species have changed over time. They have evolved through this process that we call natural selection. And evolution and natural selection can be used to describe and to explain why we have such a wide variety of species in the world today. There are millions and millions of different types of living things on the earth. And evolution can help us understand why, and why they have these different characteristics and traits that help them to be successful in their environment. And so we'll be talking about lots of examples, and we will be studying exactly how this happens when we talk about natural selection. But just to introduce, I want to show you this video clip, okay, of an example of evolution. Well, that's the question I was going to ask you. What kind of living thing is that, Shay?
It either looks like a fly or a grasshopper.
Okay, know what we're going to say.
Leaves or lice.
Okay, you guys, the same thing other class said. Andrew, what are you going to say?
A crab.
Oh, there we go. So a lot of you are talking about insects. This is actually a crab, okay, an arthropod, so it's related to the insects. It'd be easier to tell if it was a larger picture, and I'll show you
It
here.
looks like a face.
Karima, what did you just say?
It looks like a face.
It looks like a face, and that's why we're going to be using this as an example. This is called a Haiti crab. Okay, it's found around Japan. And the shell, so this is the carapace is what it's called, the exoskeleton of this crab. And the pattern on these crabs resembles a human face. Okay, and some would say a samurai warrior's face. Okay, and so this little video clip here starts with trying to explain, well, how would this happen? How would the exoskeleton of this crab come to resemble a human face? And just watch and listen, and we'll talk probably more about it tomorrow. We don't have a whole lot of time today, but you can at least see the video.
This legend raises a lovely problem. How does it come about that the face of a warrior is cut on the carapace of a Japanese crab? How could it be? The answer seems to be that humans made this face. But how? Like many other features, the patterns on the back or carapace of this crab are inherited. But among crabs, as among humans, there are many different hereditary lines. Now, suppose purely by chance, among the distant ancestors of this crab, there came to be one which looked just a little bit like a human face. Long before the battle, fishermen may have been reluctant to eat a crab with a human face. In throwing it back into the sea, they were setting into motion a process of selection. If you're a crab and your carapace is just ordinary, the humans are going to eat you. But if it looks a little bit like a face, they'll throw you back and you'll be able to have lots of nice little baby crabs that all look just like you. As many generations passed of crabs and fisher folk alike, the crabs with patterns that look most like a samurai face preferentially survived. Until eventually, there was produced not just a human face, not just a Japanese face, but the face of a samurai warrior. All this has nothing to do with what the crabs might want. Selection is imposed from the outside. The more you look like a samurai, the better your chances of survival. Eventually, there are a lot of crabs that look like samurai warriors. This process is called artificial selection. In the case of the Haiti crab, it was affected more or less unconsciously by the fishermen, and certainly without any serious contemplation by the crabs. Humans, for thousands of years, have deliberately selected which plants and animals shall live. We're surrounded with farm and domestic animals, fruits, vegetables. Where did they come from? Were they once free living in their present form in the wild and then induced to adopt some less strenuous life from the farm? No. They are, almost all, made by us.
All right, so just real quickly here. So this process that he's talking about that caused these crabs to change over time, to start to have a shell that resembles a human face. He called that artificial selection. What term was I using before when I was talking about evolution? Not artificial selection. You want to remember what I was saying? Natural selection. What do you think the difference is? Joseph?
The natural selection is like